Last up, we got Malcolm-Jamal Warner, who is once again voicing his displeasure with the hip hop industry. He is now going on record saying that hip hop is actually flourishing in the manufacturing or production of music that is actually anti black. So these are pretty interesting comments. We talked about Malcolm-Jamal Warner before in relation to the N word. Remember when we did that video where he talked, it was on his own podcast that he started, and he was talking about how he had to stop listening to J. Cole because J. Cole's just using the N word like a crutch every other word, and he just got tired of hearing it. A sentiment that I can relate to. So he's talked about how he's kind of off when it comes to the hip hop stuff, and this is another addition into that ongoing narrative when it comes to Warner. So this says Malcolm-Jamal Warner feels hip hop has become anti-black. The actor appeared on Peachtree TV's Monica Pearson one-on-one to discuss his thoughts on hip hop and black music. The constant use of the N-word and messages filled with misogyny, murder, mayhem, and disrespect of fellow black people cheapens the music that is being put out today, according to Warner. Unfortunately, the success of hip hop is predicated upon the anti-blacks, he said. When you listen to the hip hop that gets the exposure, conscious hip hop isn't getting exposure. The messages that are getting the exposure are misogyny, murder, mayhem, and disrespect for fellow black people. That's not all the hip hop that exists. Plus, there's the matter of that word. You can't have a popular hip hop song without using the N word, said Warner, who considers himself a hip hop purist. Our black music has somehow become anti black, and it's been so normalized that it gets right by us. The conditioning, the programming is so powerful. This isn't the first time Warner has expressed discomfort with today's black music. TMZ caught up with him in May during the peak of the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef. He expressed his disappointment with hip hop and stated that the harmful elements of the culture, e.g., the N word and misogynistic language, had been normalized. Warner pointed out that the music could have balance and not be negative most of the time. He blames the media for focusing on the ignorant side of hip hop. He said that attention should be given to dope music played in underground circles, which also promotes positivity and is not viewed negatively. So here are Warner's comments.
Unfortunately, the success of hip hop is predicated upon being anti-black.
Explain.
When you listen to the hip hop that gets the exposure, right? Conscious hip hop isn't getting exposure. The messages in hip hop that get the exposure are misogyny, murder, mayhem, and disrespect of fellow black people. Right? That's not all of the hip hop that exists.
Right, but that's what mainly.
That's what gets. Yeah, like you can't have a popular hip hop song without using the N word
or calling women horrible names.
Yeah. It's like our black music has somehow become anti-black, and it's been so normalized that it gets right by us.
And it just did with me.
Yeah, the conditioning, the programming it's so powerful. Like in all of my poetry, I constantly talk about my love-hate relationship with hip hop. Right, but when those of us who are hip hop purists and we talk about how the younger generation hip hop is trash, well, we're complicit in that because the younger generation grew up watching us and listening to us listen to what we listen to. The content isn't different. The skill set may not be as great, right? The execution may not be as great as was artistically, but the content really is the same. And most of that content to be black music, again, is really, a lot of it's anti-black.
All right. So,
Hey man, I think Malcolm-Jamal Warner is subscribed to the conscious approach or something. Like, what are you doing, bro?
So yeah, man. So I agree with like 99.999% of that. I'm trying to leave about 0.0001% standard deviation for any for any holes or slip ups in that logic. But we've touched on Warner before. What did you think about what he said there?
Hey man, I agree, man. I agree 1,000%, bro. I might be on you might be 99%, man. I'm on 1,000. Hey man, I agree with this. I say this all the time. It wasn't until probably like 2015, 16. So if anybody doesn't know Famous Dex, young people know who Famous Dex is. So 2015, 16, I was listening to Famous Dex. Just as rambunctious as you want to be as far as a musician is concerned. If you even want to call him a musician, all right. But as I'm listening to these songs and just liking how the beat go and how he playing around with it and having fun, he would do these loops of misogynistic things where he'll say stuff like he just want the mouth, he don't need the vagina. I don't trust these B words, I don't trust these H words. I got two women tag teaming each other, all of this stuff. But I don't want to, I'd rather be with my N words. I don't want to be with these B's. And as I'm listening to this, I'm like, it's kind of gay. And I said, hey, bro, it's kind of gay. And I was like, what kind of anthems are these? Because I was also, in that same ballpark when it came to Lil Wayne. In 2008-9, where he kept saying the same things of just disrespecting women in a particular way, where he just rather be with his N words than these O's. And so even then I was like, what is this? So fast forward, when people talk about, I'm about to go a little gal brain here, but for anybody that wants to keep on, but for the industry at large, one thing that I would say, because I watched a lot of videos talking about the music industry or whatever, and a lot of Diddy behavior goes on behind closed doors. And it's one thing to be misogynistic, and it's another thing to be like really just anti-woman. Misogynistic could just be rude and this and that or whatever. I guess misogynistic could be classified as hate of women, but this is like actual hate of women. Where, there's videos of 40 dudes all in one living room, no woman around. I'd rather be with my N words than these O's. And I'm like, what kind of stuff are they promoting? So along with that, the sagging of the pants, the painting of nails, the other stuff, to me, this comes off as real emasculine type of stuff. So it's deeper to me than just being misogynistic. To me, it's actually just really brainwashing, a form of hatred towards women. And and I just couldn't stand that. So you want to tag team that with the overt violence, the talk about selling of drugs, you name it. It's all throughout our music. And if you ask me, if you're against a black woman, then you're against black people. If you're willing to sell drugs to our people, then you're against black people. If you're willing to murder one of our people senselessly in the street, then you're not for black people. So literally every bar is no different than a Klansman. So he'll come into your hood, sell your drugs to your auntie and them, shoot the N-word across the street, F these N-word B's, It sounds like a Klansman to me. So there's a lot of Clayton Bigsby's in the game, and they don't like black people. They don't like black men, and they don't like black women. And in order to be on, you have to talk that talk. So I would just go a step further. I wouldn't just say that it's misogynistic. I would also say that it's homoerotic, and and because of the diddler behavior. Last thing I'll say is that when I'm talking about this stuff, what I mean is, there would be, I would hear back in the day that they would have a woman in the studio, even though Rick James was a super freak, they'll still have a woman in the studio as the muse, to motivate them to write whatever song about women, you know. But, nowadays these guys just finish doing a Diddy session with a whole bunch of guys in the studio. If there's a woman around, she's bought and paid for. So, and then after they finish doing their Diddy behaviors or whatever, they get on a mic and literally say that I don't need no bees, money over bees. These bees ain't nothing. I'm gonna be with my N words. I love my N words. After just turning up Diddy style in the studio. So to me, I think Malcolm-Jamal was, hey, misogyny is a good term for it. I'll just go a little bit further that he's not willing to go or whatever. He didn't, whatever. But I really feel like there's an agenda to turn men out too. And not overtly, but subconsciously for you to hate black women. So I can go on about this, man, but I really agree with Malcolm here. People aren't going to necessarily look at it that way, but I think that's a good way of putting it. And also calling these dudes Clayton Bigsby's is another way of looking at how they're talking to our people. But what are your thoughts, man, on Malcolm-Jamal Warner saying that hip hop nowadays is anti-black? You agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, the content in the lyrics, they're saying that they are, you know, actively doing harm in their own communities. So I don't know what other way there is to interpret it. Like they're talking about the drugs that they sell to the people in their own neighborhoods. They're talking about the disregard or dismissiveness towards the women in their own neighborhood actively. So I don't know any other way to interpret it. It seems pretty simple to me. Oh, but JV wins. They just talking about their environment. Oh, it's because of suffering and slavery and racism. That's why we like this. It's their fault, not ours. Blah blah blah. All of that crap that they'll say to defend it. I think that he is absolutely 100% on the money. The reason why there's only one thing that I will say, because I think the point that he made about previous generations was correct,
Yeah.
but I also think that he was a bit incomplete. While I do agree with him that previous generations like ours are complicit in this being the current environment of hip hop music, because we set the stage for it and the younger generations just grabbed the torch and they ran with it based upon the stuff that we were like in our cohort, and then the cohort that we were watching, they kind of created it. So I do agree with him, but the only part about it that I would say is incomplete is I feel as though during the time that we were coming up listening to it, hip hop was viewed as an offshoot of Black American like culture. So it was an aspect of it, but it wasn't the whole thing. You also had the wholesome TV shows, your Family Matters and your My Wife and Kids and your Martins and your Wayans brothers and the sisters and all of that other stuff, right? The My Brothers and Me's and all of these other things. So you had that going on TV. You also had jazz, and you also had R&B, which ceased to be an actual genre a while ago for whatever reason. But you had R&B going on back then. You had the TV shows, and then you had the hip hop, and then of course you had the athletes, the pro basketball players and football players. So hip hop was viewed back then, I would say during the 90s and the early 2000s, as a portion of what is Black American culture. But at some point during the mid 2000s, when the music ceased to be a subgenre and it became a major genre, and this is where I holler collusion when it comes to the music industry, is there was a very concerted effort made to sort of put it into the atmosphere that hip hop is solely synonymous with Black culture. That wasn't the case when I was a child. Like when I was a kid and when I was growing up, being conditioned with this stuff, I had other things to look at and say, okay, well, this is one thing, but here's another. But somewhere along the way, we became complicit with the notion that rap and hip hop music is synonymously Black culture. So in other words, if you don't come from this community, but you want to glean what it means to be a Black American, the only thing that you need to do is listen to this music or watch those music videos. That tells you everything that you need to know. Now, of course, we know that that's not true, but if that's your primary export, other people don't know no better. The world knows no better. The rest of the country that isn't living in these communities knows no better. So they're going to look at these music videos on MTV and BET, and they're going to hear this music, and it's so ubiquitous, they're going to glean what it means to be Black solely from this music and from nothing else. So that's the difference. That's sort of the mind F that has occurred in recent memory. I would say from 2007, 8, 9 on is the inception of the idea that this is Black culture. So much so that when those award shows come along, the BET award show and all of that other stuff, and they're doing the promos for these events, they're saying this is a night for culture. Because corporate America is in bed with the idea that hip hop and rap music is Black culture. Nothing else. So when you tie that to the kind of music that gets popularized, which to his point is a specific tone, is a specific version of the content, therein lies the problem. Because if you're going to stipulate that this is your culture, but all anybody hears is that kind of music, then that you're going to get that tug and pull relationship where you have people like him saying this ain't our culture. This is actually the inverse of it. It's the opposite. It's the anti of our culture. And I agree with him 100%. I was all good with this stuff when it was understood that it was purely entertainment. But when we started to sort of piece together this idea that this is our culture, that's when I started to become uncomfortable. Because then every other element that is represented within the music from a popularized standpoint also becomes your culture. So the using of the N-word and the glorification of other rather unseemly forms of behavior, now that's your culture too. Right? It's not just the music in and of itself. It's the N-word thing, and it's the women thing, and it's the crime thing and the drugs thing. Those things are now synonymous with your culture too.
Yep.
Because you're saying this is your culture, and this music is synonymous with who you are.
Yep.
So that's what people like Malcolm-Jamal Warner are railing against, because they made it this way. I think the music industry made it this way. I think corporate corporations that saw the capitalistic money-making opportunity combined with the music industry did this, where they sort of impressed upon the general population that this is Black culture. Everything else is outside of it. Everything else is an other. So if there's a artsy Black person who's an artist, they're viewed as an other. We've talked about this before. Black country music artists, to which there are many, they're an other. Lenny Kravitz is an other. The guy who's the drummer for Hootie and the Blowfish, Darius Rucker, he's an other. Jimmy Allen, he's a Black country music artist. He's an other. Why are they others? They make Black art too. Country music, they're Black art. That's Black art too. But they're others because what is actually Black culture is this stuff.
Right.
Who made these rules? Who came up with that? Who dictated that that's the reality? So that's when you have people like Warner who are saying this is anti-Black. Because to be Black is to embrace all areas of art and entertainment and exports that we actively participate in. which ain't just that form of music. It's everything. So he's 100% correct. I agree with him 1000%. He told no lies as far as I'm concerned. I don't care about all of these hip hop apologists who want to make all of these excuses for why things are what they are. They don't have to be. I said before, I listen to Sirius XM every week in my car. It is uncensored, paid for radio. You don't have to play what isn't like people are paying a subscription fee for this service. You can put on whatever you want. Yet every day, what I'm hearing is thought rap, vagina rap, prostitution rap, or drug and gun bar rap. Yep. Every day.
Yep.
And the only time that I hear any sort of balance thrown into the mix is when I have to listen to an underground DJ who has his own show for an hour a week and he gets to play whatever he wants for his hour. But outside of that, it's the same old thing that the machine of the music industry is paying to put in front of people's faces.
Correct. Yes.
So he's 100% correct. He told no lies. And if I'm a hater or anti whatever, I don't give a damn. You can call me whatever you want. But until there is more of a balance in terms of the representation of this music, I will always reject the idea that that is my culture. And if you want to go so far as to call it anti-black, I won't disagree.
Yeah, and the corporatizing of the art form is where it went south. And I didn't say this. Ice Cube said this. A person who's very involved in the music industry, been in it for over 30 years, so he knows what's going on. He's also been in the music industry. He's also fighting tooth and nail with the NBA for being an outsider trying to do some type of business. But these are Ice Cube's words. And he said that the same people who own the record label are the same people who invest in private prisons. There is a correlation between this goofy music that people want to call culture and prison populations.
Yeah.
And so these people who invest in these rappers also invest in beds for these prisons.
He said that on Bill Maher's show.
Yeah.
Bill, for anybody who didn't see that, that was on Bill Maher. Yeah.
And so, he's got empirical data. He said he watched this stuff. He right there behind closed doors. So when you talk about who's financing this war against our people, then you would have to look at whoever owns these labels. You would have to look at whoever owns these private prisons. You have to see whoever's invested for us to be drug kingpins and murderers. Because that's why they're going to continue to come out with more anthems to make sure you got something to drill to later. And I'm telling you right now, this has nothing to do about the reflection of what we're seeing in our community. All right. So honestly, to tie back into the first topic, where we were talking about Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry is no different. He's a film industry rapper, if you will. He does the bidding of the film industry. You don't get that high where he's at without rubbing the right elbows or doing some Diddy action. And so one thing about Tyler Perry is what he does is he's no different than your favorite, like Drake. He's no different. He's a corporate sellout doing his job to make sure that people stay in the right state of trauma. And there's a way for you to reflect on the hood and talk about the circumstances in a particular way where you're actually giving a lesson, if you will, riding dirty, UGK style, where there's a way for you to articulate the certain various parts of the struggle, but you're not sitting there dwelling on it. You're talking about grinding your way up out of it. And also talking about the pitfalls if you continue to go down that lane, old school 8-ball MJG stuff. So there's ways for you to articulate the struggle without always dwelling in it. And so the same rhetoric goes for Tyler Perry or anybody else that wants to be involved in any type of art form that exploits our people. So somebody could sit here and say, hey man, you guys are too hard on it, it's just entertainment or whatever. And hey man, just like how Malcolm-Jamal Warner said, these young people are doing what we're doing because they watched us do this stuff. They listen to what we listen to. They watched us do this. At some point transforms from a form of just being entertainment to conditioning. And so conditioning and entertainment, which one is it? I will holler it's conditioning. And the more you listen to this gringy stuff where they're talking about all of the pitfalls and all of the bad parts about life, all the bad parts of our community, and glorifying those things, the more people are going to grow up glorifying those types of things. So I think there's a correlation. And to say that, so, and to suggest that it's just reflecting on the hood is suggesting what people, what racist people say or racist people think is that you ain't nothing but a criminal.
Yes, that's your natural state.
That's
Correct.
your natural state. So we're just reflecting on our natural state. You sound like them.
Right.
And I'm trying to tell you that that's not our natural state. That's not our homeostasis. That's not even how the art form even started. But once the corporate interests that got involved, who have their own agendas, got involved with it, they give you the Ice Spice, they give you the Sexy Reds, the Lottos, the whoever else that's popping right now, that's thought pocket rapping, because that's the new wave. They already turned the men out. Now they're turning it over to the women. And I can guarantee you this: if y'all want to say that's just entertainment, you already see what's happening now. Let's wait 5 years and see what's going on. We always talking about how X work is becoming normalized. 5 years from now, it will be a mark on your income taxes. You giving up the box? Check this box. So Malcolm-Jamal Warner's got a point here. If you guys want to think that I got a tinfoil hat on and I'm thinking a little bit too deep for this, all right, get your Tiffany Haddish on and get out the ignorant box and learn a little something about what's going on out here. Draw, connect some dots. You'd be greatly surprised. So Malcolm-Jamal Warner, shout out to him, bro. If you ever want to come on a conscious approach, bro, you talking like a conscious approachian. We can have you on a panel, bro, and we can ask you some questions, see how you feel about these things, man. But I 1000% agree, and I feel like this is a discussion that needs to be happening more in our community, where we're actually not putting these people up on pedestals anymore, and we're actually chopping them down to size and promoting people who actually want to see the best in our people. So well said, Malcolm. Well said.
Yeah, I think he's 100% correct. Mm-hmm. And it's just very disappointing when you get these mouthpieces in the media and all of these various platforms who are just they bend the knee to this stuff. They don't have a critical bone in their body. This is another thing that I complain about with this industry. And they basically attacked you for being out of touch. So like if you have a dissenting opinion at all, it's not because whatever you have to say is legitimate or has any kind of merit. It's because you think this way because you're old or you're out of touch or you're stuck in a previous era or generation. Like they always play these mind games with you where they want to try and hit you with the age card because you have a dissenting opinion. Like, nah, bro, like that's a very closed-minded, that's a very narrow-minded way of looking at it. And nothing is at its best, most pure form when it does not have people who are willing to put checks and balances in place to make sure that it's being the best version of itself. The minute that everybody is an apologist running around saying that no matter what you do, it's always good, that's when the quality of it deteriorates.
Yep.
And this is no different. That's what we got going on here. And it's been going on now for almost 2 decades. So it's sad. It really is. But all you can do is speak on it. So you know what? I might go and subscribe to Warner's podcast because that's the second time that he has completely knocked it out of the park to me. So shouts out to Malcolm-Jamal Warner, man. He has the right idea. I think he's 100% correct on this, and more people need to speak on it without being too chicken shit because you don't want to get mad because you don't want people getting mad at you.
Facts.
Right? But we'll go ahead and close things out, man. Another great stream in the books. JV Wins Dogon SS, as we always do it. Check us out Instagram at JV Wins, JVWINS, and Conscious Approach on Instagram, Con Approach, CONAPPROACH. Be on the lookout for wherever you get your podcasts available. Shouts out to everybody who's been hitting that subscribe button, leaving them comments, hitting the like button. We certainly appreciate it. Go my Miami Heat. Everybody, please think for yourself. Do not be a group thinker. Please think for yourself. And until next time, we will catch you on the next video.
And the name is Dogon SS. And you can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS and on YouTube and TikTok and DraftKings, Dogon_SS as well. Hey, y'all, football season's about to get started, y'all. All right. I might start a league. Let me know. All right. But if I start the league, I'm taking everybody money. All right. So hit me up on DraftKings, man. Send me an invite or something, you know what I'm saying? So I could take your Skrillers. All right. But as I say on every pod, guys, all right, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it player. And don't let anybody get you off your pivot, including everybody that wants to make you think that entertainment is just entertainment. Holler at me if you think it's conditioning. But until the next time, guys, we'll catch y'all on the flip side.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Another good one in the books, man. We look forward to seeing what everybody has to say on these various videos. But until then, we will catch y'all later. We are out. Peace, baby.
Peace. Go Kings. National champion.